So okay, you're
right.
right.
To the liquor store.
You're right. I totally understand. You're right. I was wrong to sit in that and fucking try to pay myself like that. But okay. So I guess the point I was trying to make is like I also grew up in a blended family, and I was also very fucking annoyed by that. Like not knowing, like not growing up with my father and then finding out that he had kids on fucking Facebook is embarrassing as fuck. Like at least for me, like to have those people watch me go viral and then be like, hey, I'm your sister. I'm 13. What? Like I just, there's also a stigma culturally, like with Dominican men and having secret families. Maybe Caribbean men just like having secret families and like having a million kids and like all this other shit because of what you said, that there's no space to have that show in a healthy way. So for me, like, but you know, then this relates to what you said about pushing my own shit onto my kids because I guess, nah, fuck all that. It's like, it's just me, like, I just don't want kids everywhere. Yeah. I want one partner, 2 kids, and that's it. And then, and I also want to be free to date whoever I want, so vasectomy.
And I respect that because, like me, I met a sibling, I think I was either 15 or 16. She's 1 year younger than me, looks just like my father's sister, and it is the wildest thing.
That doesn't bug you the fuck out.
I mean, of course it does. Now, also, I too grew up in a blended home. I don't use half. My little sisters, we don't have the same, but we didn't come from the same ball sack. Because their father is my father. You get what I'm saying? And then I have siblings. I heard I have siblings in Trinidad because of where my father has laid his once. So if for me, when I hear you say the things you say, as a child of many people, I just start to think like you're holding a lot of power that you should kind of relinquish, and your children are going to be okay, and it's just somebody as a child of incarcerated, all type of stuff, your children are going to be okay. Do what makes you happy, because what I know, and now as a 32-year-old, now I go back to my mom and I'm like, why didn't you do these things that made you happy? And I can clearly tell they were going to make you happy. And now I invest a lot of my stuff, like any little bit of money I give, I'm trying to give to her to now make sure that she's happy. So your kids, I'm going to tell you, you're a great father from what I've already seen. And they're so young. So do what makes you happy, and that intentional love you give them, a lot of shit is inevitable. You're not going to be able to control. So whether you and partner together, whatever, honor yourself, and your kids are going to see that, and that's what they're going to learn. Like, whether daddy was there or not. So, like, definitely have, like, mindfulness of,
mindfulness.
intentional. Be intentional.
I think you just gave me a whole lot of examples of how men are trash.
I want to add, since we're talking about relationships and non-monogamy, something I kind of just want to throw out there, because we probably don't have a whole lot of time now, is the idea of like relationships and how all relationships take work. Like we spend a lot of time talking about romantic relationships and sexual relationships, and those are great and wonderful, but there's so many other types of relationships we have in our lives, and being attentive and aware of those relationships and building those will save us a lot of trouble in the long run. Like I saw this tweet of this straight woman, and she like took a screenshot of her friend asking for like more transparency and communication in their friendship, and she dogged the fuck out of her friend and was like, well, you're not my man, so what the fuck is this? And it's just like, okay, but friendships and other relationships matter too, because let's be real, the way that this society treats romantic relationships, y'all gonna last, if you lucky, 5 years. And like you pour in all your relationships into the romance or the sexual relationships, and then you don't have anyone when you're older and don't have any community. So I just really want people to, I guess, decolonize or unpack traumas or unpack the white supremacy and socialization around the hierarchy of relationships. Because like that's gonna do us a service in building community.
I want to talk about these 3 points, mostly about how you were explaining it. It seems systematic because there's no resources for
real system in place
to help you have something that's not right. And then I want to talk about what you said, like you were having sex with people who identified this way, but out of sight, out of mind. which is hurtful to everybody around you, which ultimately leads to you punching somebody. Mostly. And then also you're putting yourself in a miserable situation for your children, which ultimately leads to you hurting yourself. Stress leads to cancer, cancer leads to dying, which will hurt you ultimately. So I think, how do we fix all of that? Like, how do we figure out how to, or any ideas of how to first fix ourselves?
I've never been bred like this.
I would say you can't fix what you don't talk about. And that's been one of the biggest issues in our community, is we just don't talk about it. It's like, if it's not monogamy, it's not up for talk, right? Not in the church, not in the barbershop. And when it is talked about, it's talked about in a way around, like you said, centered in sex, and more centered in lying and cheating than actual what a real non-monogamous relationship would look like. And then I think the second thing is, when there is no information here, you have to create it. And so I think these type of conversations start to create that. And, you know, I'm sure there are some works and some scholarly works out there, but sometimes scholarly works aren't.
Big ass words and shit.
And
They don't feel human. That's the shit.
Not only they don't feel human, they just don't play out well in your theory, right? And so sometimes they don't play out well in your day-to-day interactions. So like you said, it's about the inner work, and about creating that level of transparency and vulnerability within yourself, so that when you enter a conversation with someone that you're potentially wanting to date, or that you have these conversations early, not after the fact. And if that person can't agree with it, then you have to let that person go. Like, you really should not, it's just toxic to think that you have the right to lie to someone and the right to ruin someone's life when they told you what their terms were. And for you to lie about that, like, you just can't come back to say, I'm trying to protect your feelings, because you didn't care about my feelings in the beginning, because I told you a truth and you told me a lie. And so I think that's that work that has to start and we start telling, like, younger boys, like, you don't have to date. Like, you don't have to have a girlfriend, you don't have to be married by 26, you don't have to have a house by 30, you don't have to have 2 kids by 35, you don't have to mirror this image of what an American family looks like. Mm-hmm. Work on yourself, and when you're ready, then enter into relationships with people. Mm-hmm. But I know I am tired of going to weddings and hearing women talk about being dragged through hell to get to the altar. And it makes me sad when I hear women say their vows, and a lot of times they talk about the bad stuff they had to go through to get to this place. They should not have to be dragged through hell to get to heaven.
And I think that's very, I mean, I'm sure all women go through that, but I think it's very particular to black women. Especially, like, famous black men. Like, literally, they will, a fucking Instagram caption just being like, I cheated on you 37 times. I done had 18 kids, but you still came back. I took your car, got it towed. They done repoed your couch. You rented it in my name. We only had one flat screen, but I ended up taking it. But you know what? You still came back. And you know what? Remember when you claimed me on your taxes because I had pretended to break my leg? And you were still there, baby. And after 37 grueling years, finally we're engaged.
And then it's that hashtag.
One thing I did want to speak on was Blake had brought up something like real early about, like, not having a structure, and we've said a few times, and I think I kind of want to challenge that in a bit, especially in changing, is that we may not have always had language. Because one thing I want to say is my mother has never used the word non-monogamy, polyamory, or any of that, but I specifically remember, even in her struggling with my sexual identity, right, and what I was doing, I remember her sitting me down and be like, E, baby, you do not have to be with one person. So what she was telling me ultimately was forms of non-monogamy. She was trying to let me know that, like, you're young, you're gonna live this shit, you know what I'm saying, like, live this shit up. And another thing I just wanted to talk about was when George talked about, like, the structures that we don't have. I hear a lot of womanists and feminists talk about a structure of the world where, and this is another thing, but, like, where women are creating families has nothing to do with men. If anything, a man doesn't even contribute to the baby being born, because men are not the only ones that have sperms that can give us babies. And there's also, like, this bone thing that can happen. Anyway, so it makes me think about how we, like, start to decolonize and even decenter cis men even more in these conversations of non-monogamy. And then one thing I want to put out there is the intentional why. Going back to you and your talk about like non-monogamy, even the intentional why behind it, like for me, I've been where you was at, where like, you know, oh, you just go do your thing and it's whatever, but it's not about that. There's an intentional why behind that. Why is that like that? So that's just like what I like to bring up, and the tangible thing that we can do is be introspective.
The tangible thing I'm doing is getting them to say.
It's reversible.
You did.
Like I said before, reflect on your wants and your needs and be honest with yourself. Not what society says you should want and need, but what you actually want. Look at your past relationships and analyze where things kind of fell apart and where you felt like empty at, and start there. Whatever you felt empty at, that's what you need. So keep that in mind. Be upfront and honest. I want A, B, and C. When you start a relationship, it's like you're going hunting, or you're going like you're trying to fish for the right person, and you throw in the bait, and the bait is your honesty. I want X, Y, and Z. Whoever like hits up that bait and bites it, that's the fish you were meant to get. Stop trying to catch fish that don't like what you got. And then another thing is find ways to build your chosen family. There are other ways to have a family and have a legacy outside of the monogamy shit. And if you aren't happy in monogamy, there are other ways, like even in systems, get a healthcare proxy, the power of attorney, live in will. These are ways so that people you are not biologically related to, or people who you don't get married to, can still take care of you and be a part of your family. So like, get creative. Queer people are already getting creative, so just get creative too. It's not actually as hard as you
think. Yo, what up? It's Eli. We just finished talking about relationships, non-monogamy. It was a roller coaster. It was a very interesting conversation to have with all those beautiful people in there.
I think one thing I can take away from being in this conversation is how complicated living one's truth and being non-monogamous can be for people who already have obligations, like children. In the mix, that definitely adds a lot of complexity to the situation, but it definitely hammers home why being true to oneself and why really reflecting on your needs in a relationship and being true to everyone else in the relationship is so important, because at that point it's not just you, it's other people you're taking into account.
I need to study a little bit more, and I hope that our viewers engage in some studying with me.
I think the first place to start is in yourself. I think a lot of people, when they talk about non-monogamy, they focus on the other relationships and they don't start within themselves. And I think, again, reflecting on your wants and needs, being honest, unpacking socialization, unpacking the shoulds and the woulds and the coulds of life, and being upfront with your boundaries, being clear, and be willing to let go of attractive people that aren't compatible with you.